Good morning. I'd like to talk with you this morning about a very unusual concept and symbol. I'm titling this video, Seeing the Plumb Line. When we say, I'm going to drop you a line, we mean we're going to communicate with someone, send a message, a text, a letter, a writing of some sort. Let's assume for a moment that that's exactly what God had in mind when he sent Jesus. I'm going to communicate with you, God says, except that in this case, God does the communication with us in person. Jesus, the messenger, the speaker, the teller, the communicator. And so God drops us a line in the person of Jesus Christ. I want to lift up the concept and symbol of a line in a very special way. The concept is that of a plumb line, a way of building and construction that is used to define vertical, so that the wall being built, for example, is a true vertical from top to bottom. Everything is in alignment. Some years ago, I used this symbol in teaching a class and even in worship about Jesus Christ as the plumb bob. A.J. Shorter, a member of the class, asked me to explain what I meant by Jesus being a plumb line. I want to share with you the letter I wrote A.J., and I'm using his permission to share it. A.J., I don't know that I've attempted to write down a detailed meaning of the plumb line, but since you ask, I think I shall have a try describing the meaning. First, let me say that I do not know that I copied the idea from anyone, so there is no one with whom you can compare, but then that's okay. First, the plumb line concept itself. A plumb line is a measuring and or aligning device. A brick mason would use a plumb line to lay up his wall of bricks so that they are in a perfect alignment, each one being aligned to the true perpendicular of the line. If each one is aligned to the same line, then all the bricks or the stone or whatever and the wall would be exactly perpendicular. The plumb line becomes the true test. Second, the plumb line is in Jesus Christ. Each person desiring to follow Jesus as the Christ would use Jesus' life, ministry, teachings, and methodologies as his or her measuring device. If I want guidance for my life as to the forgiveness of others, I will use both Jesus' teachings and his practice of forgiveness as my guide. If I want a guide as to how to love operates with others, I will go to Jesus and his teachings as well as his practice. These two guidelines, I believe, will be found to provide the same plumb line. The third dimension is very important, very important. When I come to a question about whether I should follow what seems to be an Old Testament teaching and practice, and one which disagrees with Jesus' teaching and practice, I will go to Jesus as the plumb line for God. This idea and thought comes directly from my understanding of and belief in two of Jesus' statements. John 14:9 says, anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. The second is Jesus' corollary statement in John 14. He who does not love me does not keep my word, and the word which you hear is not mine, but the Father who sent me. The major impact for me is that any time I am teaching, I have to constantly keep my instruction and word in line with Jesus as the plumb line. Also, if someone suggests a way of understanding which disagrees with Jesus' teachings, his practice, his ministry, and his methodologies, then I invite that person or the class, according to the situation, to help me to check out whether our misunderstanding of a particular answer or conclusion lines up with, or if you will, aligns with Jesus as the plumb bob for God. Let me be very, very clear what I'm proposing to you. When you talk about God and when you describe God, consider using the picture of God that Jesus presents to us. If you have a question about what God does, how God acts, whether or how God forgives, how God loves, how God treats, how God respects, any of those, use the plumb line of Jesus as the Christ to align your belief and your faith. Let Jesus be the plumb line that God has sent very personally to you, to us, to you and me.